Marriage. For a while, I showed him poems I wrote, hoping he'd know me in a new way. He never shared how they made him feel, only wielded his red pen, pointing out where my diction could be more biting. I didn't need a copy editor, I needed a husband. Once he wrote amicus next to my opening stanza, and I suspected that when reading my poem, he was thinking about the opening statement he'd be giving in his upcoming trial. I constantly competed with his law practice. I thought sharing my poems would divert us from our usual conversations about how much a slip and fall that broke an 84-year-old's hip would be worth to a jury. This nameless octogenarian had more of my husband's attention than I. In the car one night, soon before I left him, I turned down the radio and asked how many blowjobs he figured he'd gotten in his life. His "there was no one before you" was infuriating. I knew some of those women. Why was he so closed to me? It was just us in the confines of our compact car. He drove, he steered, and he slammed on the brakes, while for years I took my seat next to him, controlling only the music and the passenger side window, neither one having the slightest influence on where we were going. Position play. I thought our predictable sexual position might be my problem, so I suggested that we change it up. I got on top. My husband entered me from the side, slammed me up against the closet door, propped me up on all fours, pulled my pelvis down to the edge of the bed to achieve a certain angle. I straddled him. He sat on me. We deviated from the customary orifices, moved our missionary to the dining room table, the hood of the car, the diving board. He loved the variety, though he'd been happy with the status quo. I wasn't feeling it. I was numb, ambivalent, impenetrable, gone. Incalculable. My girlfriend G, her ex-husband J, and I spend a lot of time together. Not my choice. It's for the kids, she says, and a little for them too. They like each other. He lingers at our house in the late afternoon, and we find ourselves at the dining room table after our combined 5 kids can no longer sit. While I stack dishes, they talk about their jobs, their parents, and who has to be driven where, but there are galaxies unsaid. In these moments, I feel an urge to pose provocative, self-sabotaging questions, not unlike my pity-driven temptation to seduce the cognitively impaired woman who bags our groceries. One such inquiry: since I'm in love with G and J's in love with G, by the transitive property, is J in love with me too? When I think about applying the transitive property of equality to my life, I laugh, though it's not really funny. Nor do I feel equal at our table where Jay has made it a habit to sit at the head. I suspect that my hilarity is some warped acceptance of the fact that I live as part of an unintended threesome after I made huge sacrifices to leave one flawed twosome to become the cherished member of a more promising one. It's like the day G and I discovered our dildo was gone. We didn't notice a void where the dildo once was. She found it in Jay's bedroom closet where he put it after he took it. Yes, she had been in his bedroom, and he had been in ours, when after some well-targeted rifling, he found the mother lode in our still-packaged 8-inch dong. I wonder if he helps himself to our room and G helps herself to his. By the transitive property, do I get to have breakfast in his bed? As my therapist says, there's a lot to explore here. I skewer J because it's easier to be angry with him than with G. I don't love him. I didn't say goodbye to the man I married and give up tucking in my boys half the time to start a life with him. And Lord knows I don't want to aim the lens at myself, a virtual dinner guest in my own home. I mean, who voluntarily turns her life into this? So I rant. What did Jay come across that he didn't take? My poetry books? Period underwear? My therapist asks how I'm feeling. Livid, mortified, violated. By whom, she asks. I just stare. What would you say, she continues, if I told you that I had a friend who left her husband for a woman who assured her they'd make it work, and that once they became divorced, the woman kept her ex-husband around at the expense of my friend? Imagine if my friend tolerated, even encouraged his incessant presence. What if her children asked her why this guy is always here when their father never is? I'd say your friend is nuts. Her kids ask good questions. Kate Blanchett and Kate Winslet should star in the movie. You want me to be angry with her? I am sometimes. Have you ever told her so? It would just add to her guilt. It'll work itself out. I just don't know when. Desperate to change the subject, I tell her I think of romancing the simple woman at King's as a gift, my form of charity. You can see sleeping with a stranger but not fighting with your lover. One seems way easier. The other is much more intimate. I could cold cock her with our dildo now that we have it back. Seriously, what if we don't survive it? Your anger? Yes. You think your anger kills? Now that would be something. She asks about my ex-husband. Our interaction, I explain, has fizzled to boy-centric emails in which he no longer uses contractions, the word don't connoting too much congeniality. When he walks past me at baseball games, he breaks into a superficially casual whistle, but won't make eye contact. On our old checks he gives me for child support, he crosses out my name. When he drops the boys off, he doesn't pull into our driveway, just lets them out at the curb. He stayed for 12 days in his dark, cold, post-hurricane house, rather than accept my all bets are off in a natural disaster invitation to come over and thaw. G and J, on the other hand, have a post-divorce relationship that includes daily phone calls and bank accounts that thrive in joint capacity. We three are 21st century real estate moguls. G owns J's house in which she no longer lives, and J has a piece of our house because the rent checks come from their still compiled loot. G and I have a checking account, and G and J have theirs. So by the transitive property, is their money my money too? And should Jay sign his name to the thank you notes I write to my aunt who still sends me birthday cash? I thought it would be nice for G's kids to see their dad every day, even if mine don't. I thought it would be nice for G to stay close with her ex, even if mine won't. I thought it would be nice to let a lonely man take refuge in our bustling house, even if I don't want him here. You chose this. Did you know what you were getting into? Meaning I left for a love that doesn't belong to me. Meaning I used to be the fiery center of my family universe, and now I flail in orbit around someone else's, reluctant to interrupt their reminiscing to have the broccoli passed. My boys and me, silent spectators. Meaning this isn't what I meant when I said yes. Despite my invocation of the transitive, math has always been my weakness. I counted on living with 7 people being tough, but not the added hardship of an 8th who wants me gone. I counted on a new financial arrangement, but not accepting another man's money while hoping he'd go away. I counted on giving G the room she needed, but not on what it would cost me. It's expensive, my choice, incalculable. Crohn's. My 13-year-old son is shrinking. At his worst, he can't sit upright or climb stairs. Lying on his side is the only position that doesn't hurt. When the pain is most acute, he kneels naked on the carpet, his butt spread apart and pointed up toward a fan blowing cold air. Hoping my maternal breath will bring relief, I blow on it too. He was an infant the last time I was this close to this part of him. I massage his thighs, calves, and arms until he asks me to stop. What was once his adorable anus is now the sign of the guerrilla warfare that his immune system is waging on itself. Chronic illness. I move the fan in closer, blow harder, harder, fruitlessly trying to send the disease into oblivion, knowing there is nothing else I can do. At the Prospect Street Cafe. If I didn't have to meet my girlfriend at therapy, I'd have another drink while luxuriating in the intense connection between that couple. Two women sitting at a nearby booth, as evidenced by the many points at which their bodies touch and the communicable joy their joy gives me. They make clear to their waiter, with the least offensive waving off, that there's absolutely nothing else they need from him, or from anyone, I imagine. I doubt they appreciate the extraordinary quality of their easy way with each other. When one's hand slides along the vinyl seat, the other lifts herself up slightly, letting it take its place underneath her. Neither one's mind drifts. Ravenous, they finish every bite of fish, green beans, and new potatoes. After licking her fingers, one pulls the other close and whispers in her ear. The woman listening stares at the floor as she contemplates her lover's words. Her widening smile reveals an unexpectedly discolored top incisor that makes her stunningly beautiful. She covers her mouth with her hand to keep her bliss from bubbling over, and I swear I am witnessing the miracle of another human becoming saturated with delight. My girlfriend and I don't need therapy. We need to be here watching, reminding ourselves of what we used to be. I leave a wad of cash on the table and walk out slowly, staring, inhaling them, tasting my glorious tears. Thank you.